The A-list is back. Hi, Autumn Joy.
Hello, my gorgeous radio sister. How are you, my dear?
Oh, I'm doing well, gorgeous. I'm always so happy to see this face. See this face, hear
You
this
are
voice.
too.
And you know what? We are so
Mhm.
fortunate that we have a celebrity publicist with us tonight. Of course, we like to talk about the hot topics, but who better to talk about hot topics with, right? Shall we bring
Mhm.
her in?
Let's do
Okay.
it.
Ladies and
Come on.
gentlemen, she has represented everyone. I mean, from Michael Jackson on down. And she is still representing the creme of the crop, cream of the crop, creme de la creme. Let's welcome my dear friend. She has her own company, Raymone Bain LLC, if that's not the right title. Raymone, please straighten me out. But please welcome the one and only, the talented DC royalty, Raymone Bain.
Hi, I'm so happy to be
Yay!
here. Thanks for having me. How are both of you doing?
Good.
Doing
How are
great.
I am just fine, thank you. And
Glad
thanks
you
for
could
having me
join
on.
us.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me on.
As we were just saying, I mean, we talk about what's going on, right? Like celebrity dish, just the tea, and who better? And Autumn, I want you to start off. You wanted to talk about something that is trending and really unfortunate, but let's get Ramon's take on it.
so? I'm sure you've been hearing about this in the media, probably for. I'd say this has been popping up for a while. Trey Songz. Over the years, we've heard him being accused of sexual assault by multiple women, and within just the last, I'd say, like not even it hasn't been 6 months. Three different women have come forward, including a very popular, very known basketball player that plays for, I believe she played for the University of Nevada. Her last name is Gonzalez. And another woman has come forward, a story broke as of today, where she's suing Trey Songz for $20 million. And I tell my audience, I'm like, listen, I'm not saying that Trey Songz is innocent or guilty, but I'm saying that everybody isn't lying when they're coming forward with these stories. So as a PR guru, if you will, when you hear things like that, do you tend to think that, okay, the person potentially could be guilty? Like, where does your PR mind go when you hear about an artist who's constantly in the media being accused of something?
Well, when I hear that, the first thing comes to mind is you've got to be careful what you do. You've got to be careful who you associate with. You've got to use discretion. The men have to use discretion and the women have to use discretion. And, when you have someone who's being accused all the time, and that's what it is right now, until it plays out in the court of law and until the investigative units come in and determine who's telling what. Because one of my clients said to me years ago, it's my side, it's your side, and then it's the truth. So in a situation like this, you've got to rely on the evidence. And when women are in a situation like that, they've got to make sure they follow through with all the procedure. File a police report, go to the hospital, be checked, because then all of those things you can be completely and unequivocally telling the truth. But if you don't follow the process. Now, on the other hand, it would seem to me that if there are more than one accusation, then you would use discretion as to how you conduct yourself. And you won't put yourself in the same situation where you can even be accused of something like that. So it's a situation where I think that on each side, you've got to use common sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't place yourself in positions where you can be hurt. And then on the other hand, you don't place yourself in a position where you can be accused. So,
On
you've
both
got to
sides. On
use,
both sides.
and
Yeah.
so you've got to use common sense. And I look at, women. If there is someone who is consistently having charges found, then you've got to be careful to be in that person's presence until you all meet somewhere, you get to know each other better, and then you feel comfortable of placing yourself in a position. But if you find that over and over and over and over again there are these accusations, but then you place yourself in a position where it could potentially happen to you, then you've got to use more discretion. Him, on the
Yeah.
other hand, I'm not saying that he's guilty, but is there a disconnect where you find yourself in a situation and you think you have the right to move forward, but they're telling you no, but you don't believe they're saying no? Why is it that we're hearing all of these accusations over and over again? And so from a PR point of view, I would have to say, well, you know what? Until there can be some resolution, you need to not invite women in and around a hotel room or where you are with no body around to be a
Yeah.
witness. You need to hold up and you need to stop because something is not right here.
And
Whether
Raymone, I mean, you're absolutely right. I
there's
think on both sides, you've got to use some discernment. And while we're talking about celebrities, I'd love to get your opinion on the whole Kim Kanye. It's just drama in the public, both on both sides. Do you think it's real, or are they just trying to make sure that they keep their images out there? What are your thoughts about that whole thing?
well, it's unfortunate. I think that they, were in love with each other. I think, from a parenting point of view, they love the children. They have beautiful kids. They're both very talented. And sometimes the grass is greener on the other side. And so, we remember Kanye having moved to Wyoming, to the farm and to the ranch. And then, he moved somewhere else and he went out on tour. And then, Kim was left there with the kids. And, there were some things that were said. And I remember seeing this photograph of her crying in tears. I guess, it looked as if she were begging him, well, come home and let's work this out and let's just see what's up. And, you do that more than once. And then your patience leaves. On the other hand, he, I think, because of the creativity and all of the projects that he's engaged, he probably didn't realize the grass always looks greener on the other side. So he probably didn't realize the extent to which he loves his wife and wants to
Hmm.
be there with the kids. So now
And Autumn,
you have this disconnect.
yeah,
So he files for divorce. He's at first, okay, well, that's fine. But then he looks out here and he sees, wait, I want my wife and my kids back. So
yeah.
what do you do? I would not suggest that there be as many Instagram postings and Twitter postings. And I think that at this point in time, he needs to be still and just see how it plays out. If you're trying to win back someone, the best policy, I think, is to stay out of the media. Don't give the press any food for fodder,
Mhm.
and just see how it works out behind the scenes.
Well, sorry,
There
not
are
to
a
cut,
lot of postings.
yeah, well, not sorry to cut you off, Ramon, but I did want to just jump in there really quickly, and just I had an opportunity. So they just released the part one of his 3-part docu-series on Netflix called Genius. And so I did sit down and watch it today, and I've got to say, watching Kanye West from his humble beginnings, it is a very enlightening piece of artwork, if you will. And just watching him become and starting to turn into the person that we're seeing now, I think that everybody should watch that. And now and a part of me now understands why Kanye acts and lashes out the way he does. He's a genius.
Wow.
He's smart. He's intelligent. I don't think that the man has any type of issues. I don't think that the man is off his meds. I just think, like, to your point, I feel like he jumped out there forgetting that Kim Kardashian is Kim Kardashian. So you got to remember Kanye on his birthday, when we first heard about the divorce rumors, went to Paris with another woman, then came back and moved in some little Wilhelmina model into his Malibu beach house. And then we started seeing the Fox girl. All while this is going on, Kim is just quietly just kind of taking it on the chin. So what Kanye has to understand is that he dished it out, but he can't necessarily take it, especially now seeing that the guy that Kim is aligned with is someone who's sticking. And that's what's bothering Kanye. So it you know, I get it. I see what everybody's saying, but I do want to encourage all of our viewers and listeners to take a moment and just watch that first episode of that docuseries, and it will give you some insight into Kanye's psyche. But I just don't agree with what he's doing in social media. Like, he just needs to back off him.
I agree. And to Roger's point, oh, I'm sorry, Raymone. Roger just wrote, 2 narcissists can't stay away from social media, even at the detriment of their family. Interesting. And Isabella from Dubai, thank you for joining us. We always love when people take the time to comment. I mean, there's so much to cover. Oh, Super Bowl, halftime show.
Well, let me raise another issue about Kanye.
Oh.
I really like him. I like him a lot. And, you know, Michael Jackson, in the 25th anniversary Thriller CD, he chose 4 artists to participate on that record, and they did remixes. Kanye was one of them, and that was back in December of 2007. And, you know, the times that I've met him, I've been extremely impressed because he is a musical genius. But let's just look at where he's come. He's worth $6.8 billion. He walked Virgil Abloh into Fendi and Louis Vuitton 10 years ago and said, listen, you all need to hire him, because this man will take you to the stratosphere with regards to his talent. And Virgil Abloh became the chief designer for Louis Vuitton. So he's about to sign a multi-billion-dollar Balenciaga and Gap deal. And the Yeezys are selling out. I think with him, so much is spinning and so much is going on until he now realizes he needs the stability of the wife and kids that, you know, we sometimes don't appreciate to the extent that we should when we're there. But with all of the different tentacles and all of the different projects, plus you got 100 million followers, and everybody is pulling at you. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And in building up the brand, both of them feel that they need to be responsive to. Michael Jackson was the same way. And thank God we didn't have Twitter and Facebook and MySpace and YouTube. Thank God, because we saw how he was treated in the media and all of the media interest and just the excitement and the jaded and cynical press that surrounded him. Can you imagine if he were living in the time where we had Twitter and Facebook and Instagram? We probably all would have jumped off of the Potomac Bridge over the Memorial Bridge. You have so many people that are pulling at him. They now, because these people have built their brand, and because the brand has been built based on the followers, I think they both feel that they have to respond, but you don't necessarily have to respond.
Let me jump in really quickly, and so we can move on to the next topic. I do want to point out that Kim only responded in reaction to Kanye. So it took her a while. So Kanye was the one that was poking at the bear. Kim only responded when she felt it got dangerous for Pete, when Kanye was pretty much telling people, oh, when you see him, all of that. But to the point of social media, did you see that Dr. Dre, after the Super Bowl, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, their single, now garnered billions of views. So it completely blew up just based off of the Super Bowl. and even like 50 Cent in the club, billions of views. So I do think, to your point, Raymone, you know, as far as social media, you know, it definitely is that vehicle now that, you know, for a lot of artists who were popping back in the day, it's now, you know, this young generation, after watching that Super Bowl special, definitely are hopping back on that bandwagon of, you know, music we grew up loving.
And 107, I looked at the stats, 107 million people watched that halftime performance.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him because again, when Michael Jackson came out and announced that he was going to record a record for Katrina, you might remember that, Angela. Snoop was one of the first people who volunteered to work with him on that project. And he came into the studio. So I am so happy for the success of all of them that performed this past weekend. I thought it was a fabulous production. I thought that, I mean, I taped it and I've rerun it several times. I thought
it was amazing.
Awesome. The presentation was awesome. The production was awesome. The songs that were selected were awesome. Mary J. Blige looked awesome. And I have nothing but kudos to say about the performance.
About Mary, I'm a little upset she didn't do her typical Mary dance. I think everybody was
Well, she did it just, if you go back and rewind it, see, you were taken up, swept up in the moment. But if you go back and rerun it, you'll see that she did.
Oh, she did?
You know what? She did a little bit. Well, you know what? I was thinking about just a lot of the halftime shows. And, you know, as a publicist, as I said, you were Michael Jackson's spokesperson and publicist for years. And, you know, the whole Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake nipplegate. If you were her publicist at the time, what would you have recommended? Because, you know, Justin went on to greatness and she kind of, you know, people were canceling her gigs. We all saw on the Janet documentary. And, you know, I mean, we love Janet, love her. And I don't think she should have had to lose any of those years. And it wasn't even her fault. Anyway, what would you have done as her publicist?
I probably would have had her be a little bit more assertive with regards to what happened. But, you know, in looking, I did work for her for 6 years, but not during that time. At that time, I was working for Michael Jackson. But I have a great deal of respect for her. She is an icon. And in looking at that documentary, you can see and get an understanding of her personality. She's very, very shy. And I think that she came from an era where if you just ignore something and you don't say anything and you make it, you just move on, then everybody else will move on. But just listening to her, it appeared that she didn't realize the extent to which they were going to continue to bring that up. She didn't realize the extent to which it was going to hurt her career. She didn't realize the extent to which people were just, even up until last year and year before and the year before, it's like every time there's a Super Bowl and we're coming up to a Super Bowl performance, they talk about Janet Jackson and the nipplegate. And I'm sure that in hindsight, you know, considering the things that she lost, she would have spoken up and explained more. But then in the documentary, she says that she told Justin Timberlake, don't say anything if you know. And I think that shows what I'm saying. She's a lady, she's an icon. It happened. Let's move on. And I'm taking the hit. But if I continue to speak about this, you all are going to continue to report and make it a big issue. Let me just move on. And maybe in hindsight, she finds that it might have been good to call a press conference and say, okay, this is what happened. I didn't have
Exactly.
anything to do with this. We were caught in the moment, and bam, this happened, and
Right.
let's just get
That
over
would
it.
have been, it seems
But
like that would have been the answer. And Raymone, I love that you're here and we've got, so many stories that we'd love to hear from you. But we're gonna have to have you back. We're gonna have you back. Really
but,
enjoyed, right,
but let
Autumn?
me say one more thing here.
Yeah,
You got to look at the timing. We didn't
yeah,
have uh, YouTube. We didn't have Me Too and Time's Up. We didn't have Black Lives Matter. We didn't have Win with Black Women 2020. We didn't have Black Women Lead. We didn't have Higher Heights. So when that happened, there wasn't that kind of
support
support
system.
that
That's so
she could
true.
galvanize. During that
Yeah,
time, it was like, oh, let's be quiet. Don't say anything. If we ignore it, then it'll leave. Now people are feeling more comfortable in
right.
coming out, discussing some issues that there are questions about, because there is a system. There are sisters and brothers out here who are supportive and who will fight with you. And of course, there
Right.
is Facebook and Twitter and MySpace and YouTube and Instagram, those social media platforms that people are now using to speak out and to
Your
share
voice.
the
It's
proof
so
of what
true.
happened. So it's
And
a different
Raymone,
time and era.
it's totally a different time and era. Good points. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that? How can they reach you on social media?
Well, I am on Instagram under Raymone_Bain, and my email address is RBAIN28460 @AOL.com. I'm still one of the AOL users because people all over the US and the world had that email address. And if I change it, they won't be able to reach me. So I'm keeping it so that those people who are in Bahrain and Dubai and Japan and all over the place who have been in communications throughout the years will still be able to reach me.
Here you go. Here you go, AOL. They started it. Might
They
as well.
started it.
Thank you so much, Raymone. Great
And thank you
information.
for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Well, Autumn, another one down this week. So great to see your face.
Yeah,
And,
you too.
I know you were rah-rahing at the Super Bowl as well. My hometown, Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills almost made it to the Super Bowl, but
Hey,
they
Angela,
didn't.
almost doesn't count, sis. Almost.
Doesn't. Let it go. Should I let it go? Oh, well, but I was watching it anyway. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you next week.
Yes.
Happy Black History Month. I guess we're at the halfway point.
We are. We got about a week and a half left to be black, blackity black.
Yes, it's our month. Good night, sis. Love you.
Love you.